great pleasure to welcome the 9th President of the State of Israel, His Honor Shimon Peres.
We are extremely fortunate to have with us today a giant in the story of the modern State of Israel. Since he joined the Haganah in 1947 at age 24, Shimon Peres has been a central figure in the founding and building of Israel. He has sat with David Ben-Gurion, challenged Begin, clashed and collaborated with Rabin, and led negotiations with Arafat. His struggle for peace earned him the Nobel Peace Prize and the admiration of millions throughout the world. But I'm not here to give you a biography of Shimon Peres. We want to hear from him, not about him. Nous avons l'immense honneur aujourd'hui d'accueillir le président Shimon Peres dans notre communauté. Une communauté qui désire voir un Israël fort, vivre en paix avec ses voisins, une communauté engagée à soutenir l'Israël tout au long de son cheminement vers ce but. La communauté juive de Montréal est une communauté de plusieurs générations, une communauté unie qui a démontré son appui à Israël d'une génération à l'autre. Aujourd'hui, nous avons le privilège d'avoir parmi nous un leader de génération. President Peres, you have innovated, you have challenged, and you have pursued the goal of peace for Israel and the Jewish people. It has been a mammoth struggle, but at 88 years of age, you remain relentless in pursuit of this peace. In this magnificent sanctuary, we invite you to inspire us with your vision in the hope that our generation may live to the example you have set. Ladies and gentlemen, President Shimon Peres.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. I have been 4 days in Canada. It was a voyage of friendship, unbelievable, profound, and sincere. And this is actually my last day and my last call. So I'm so happy that it is happening at the Shaar Hashomayim, at the gates of heaven. I think it's a good place to conclude such a visit. Thank you very much. Pour moi, une visite à Montréal, c'est un événement émouvant. Je m'appelle très bien qu'au début, le premier jour de l'indépendance d'Israël jusqu'à aujourd'hui, Montréal a joué un rôle central dans la construction et le développement d'Israël. Canada, tout le Canada montrait la même amitié vers Israël. Toujours soutenir, toujours avec beaucoup d'amitié et coopération. Vraiment, c'est une amitié extraordinaire dans l'expérience politique que je connais. Je vais seulement dire merci, Canada, pour ces grandes amitiés sans arrêt. Le même je peux dire sur les communautés juives à Montréal. C'est la communauté la plus engagée, avec toujours plein de chaleur, toujours active dans le développement et construction de l'État juif. Vous avez, mon cher ami, joué un vrai rôle dans l'établissement et le développement d'Israël. Jérusalem vous salue pour cela. Merci à vous. I think in Montreal the best thing to do is to speak English. Israel is now celebrating our 64th anniversary. How can I forget the first days of Israel? You know, we started Israel not as a success and not really as a possible sort of business that you can create. Israel began as a doubt, a clear doubt. When you looked around, all the facts and numbers were against us. In 1948, we were only 650,000 Jewish people in Israel against 40 million Arabs who have had 7 armies, planes and guns and ships, and we have no army, no weapons. Then the land itself is not a very impressive piece of land. We are not more than a statistical error in the geography of Canada. You know, Israel is not more than 1 per promille of the land of the Middle East, that's all. And the land itself is not something that we can speak about seriously. It's an unfriendly land. There were swamps in the north, deserts in the south, and it wasn't a terribly fertile land anyway. We didn't have, and we don't have still water. When I look at your lakes and rivers, my God, I'm completely jealous. We in Israel we have one river, the Jordan River, who is richer in fame than in water. We have 2 lakes. One is dead. The other is going through a heart attack because the water that we got to use from the mountains of our neighbors doesn't arrive at the same amount, so it's dying. And then the surroundings were extremely hostile. We were totally alone. No brothers to our religion, no sisters to our language, no partners to our troubles. And we discovered with an open heart that actually we have nothing. Statistically, we didn't stand a chance. Outnumbered, outgunned, unsupported, not accepted. And maybe this was the most important discovery. The greatness of Israel really stems from her nothingness, from having nothing. When you have nothing, you may discover the greatest treasure in life, and that is the human being. Statistically, it's very hard to explain, but the fact is that we were attacked on the Mall of the Resolution of the United Nations. I remember very well the day that the resolution was announced in the streets of Israel. People were dancing in the streets of the country. There was just one sad person, David Ben-Gurion. I shall never forget, I stood on his side, and he told me, today they dance, tomorrow bloodshed. And at the end of the evening, the next morning, the first victims fall from the fire of the Arabs. It was a difficult war. We lost some of our best children. But against all the statistics, we won it. And since then, in the 64 years, we went through 6 wars. There's no other nation that has had to go through such an experience. Always numerically inferior and always being challenged to the last drop of our possibilities and devotion. And it so happened that today we have a good army. I would use the understatement of Ben-Gurion. He used to say, I don't know if the army of Israel is the best army in the world, but I don't know any army in the world which is better than the Israeli army. I thought it's quite nice. And then, without water and without land, we build one of the best agriculture on earth. You know, agriculture is usually a joint venture between the Lord in heaven and the farmer on earth. One of the partners is not totally reliable. He introduces droughts and storms and God knows what. So we looked for an additional partner that we can hang upon him with a greater self-assurance. And that partner was science. The Israeli agriculture is 95% high-tech. Our yields per acre are 10 times higher than any other country in the world. The water we use is only a third. We are a champion in the production of milk, for example, on earth. I shall never forget, you know, when communist China under Khrushchev, after they recognized Israel formally, the first thing, you know, they did was to buy Israeli cows. Why? It came out that a Zionist cow produces 3 times as much milk than a communist cow. It is the same cow with the same horns, the same people, but the system is different. And to this very day, so Russia is 1,000 times the size of Israel, and Russia has 1,000 lakes of sweet water, my God. We sell our agricultural goods to Russia. Carrots to Russia, avocado out of Paris, flowers to London, and we're in a good shape. So much so that Israel really became a center of agricultural development. And when they say that Israel is alone, you know, I'm not so sure that we are alone. A small country like China, for example, is one of the best friends we have. Somehow we don't take them into account of our enemies. And so is India. And so are many other countries. Even Russia has changed their attitude toward Israel, and not to speak about the friendship of America and the friendship of Canada. So after 64 years, the doubt became a success. And in a region which today is torn to pieces, experience a really difficult situation. The story in the region is not politics, it's poverty. It's a matter of food, of jobs, of education. Again, numbers don't say so much, but Egypt cannot find a way out of its impossible state of economy. You know, they selected the Muslim Brothers. The Muslim Brothers were great when their engagement was to pray. But how to solve the real problems of Egypt, I don't think they have an idea. And if they really would like to introduce the supremacy of religion upon justice or upon economy, you can be a Muslim and be a good economist. But if you think that Muslim is an economy, that's a different story. And unless they will do something, Egypt has grown in numbers 5 times in 50 years. The Nile remains the same river. It means poverty grew, not wealth. And I don't see how they're going to do it. They have to reconstruct their own economy, their own society. I don't believe, for example, that Egypt can recover her problems unless they will give equal rights to their women. You know, if women are discriminated, you cannot have neither a healthy economy nor a right society. If women are discriminated, the victims are the children. Because if a woman is not educated, the children are not educated. 41% of the Egyptians today, in the 21st century, don't know how to read and write in a world which is highly competitive. And they made out of it. I mean, the discrimination becomes almost holy. You know, President Obama asked me, who is holding back a democracy in the Middle East? I told him the husbands. They wouldn't share with their women equal rights. And they wouldn't permit women to play a role in the building of the nation. I'm speaking without any gladness in my heart. I wish that Egypt will find a solution, that Egypt will have a better time. We are not a nation to hate. And the difficulties of other people doesn't give us any pleasure. We like to see Middle East flourishing and free and democratic. What happened in the Middle East is that the young generation that went through universities and got the strengths of modern equipment, communication, and observation, discovered that poverty is not spread all over the world. There are young people in many places who have freedom, who can find jobs, who don't suffer neither from oppression nor from corruption. They started the revolution. They were aware against what they are revolting, but didn't have the slightest idea what is the alternative, what should be done. The revolt achieved something. I mean, they brought down dictators. Today, to be a dictator in the Middle East is not a recommended vocation. Some of them are dead, the others are deeply in troubles. They introduced a little bit of transparency so you can see things better. But the old foxes ate up the young chickens. I don't see them, the old guard, bringing a solution. I believe the revolt will be renewed. And now we're in a transitional period. On top of it, the world is in crisis, economic crisis. Now look, the Arab world, not because of that, today doesn't have any or almost any working government. There's no government for the time being in Egypt, in Libya, in Yemen, in Syria, no address. The only stable government is in Israel. And Israel, as you know, is never short of parties. So we have to make coalitions from time to time. Israel is an ongoing debate. We never stop debating. Why not? Occasionally, Israel looks more like a drama than a country. But it is stable and makes decisions. And in a world crisis of economy, we are in a good shape. We are associated member of Europe. We have a free trade agreement with America. And you know what? Since we don't have land and water, we live on our brains. Israel is really living on our high tech. And we are doing quite well, considering that we have to spend extra money for our defense, which is very costly, because the cost of defense must answer the size of the enemy, not the size of your own people. It should be disproportionate to the size of your people in order to be proportionate to the size of the danger you are facing. And we have to think about the future. We have problems, the lack of peace and the danger of Iran. When it comes to Iran, we are not alone. You know, people are saying, are the Americans serious or not? What do you mean they are serious? The Americans are today the leading power to fight terror in the world, because the most safest place in the United States, New York, tasted the taste of terror in 9/11. 3,000 people were killed in New York. And since then, the United States is spending over $1 trillion to fight terror in a grand coalition, where Canada is part of. You have your boys in Afghanistan, for example. I cannot imagine that the free world, including America, will say we don't care if the Middle East will fall under the spell of the Iranians with nuclear bombs. I believe they are serious, and I believe better to do it in a coalition, better to go hand in hand with the United States. I believe they are serious, Americans. I think the president is serious. It's not a matter of choice, because the two main important things that were in the hands of the governments are today ungovernable. Economy became global, so it affects every country, but there is no country that can affect globality. So the economy jumps from place to place and creates impossible situations. Classic countries like Italy or Spain or Greece fall to pieces all of a sudden. You must be careful. And so is terror. It's enough that a small group of people, not necessarily very developed, but can get very developed weapons, can go from place to place and introduce dangers. So we have to work together, and we shall work together. I don't want to be too optimistic, but I don't see any reason to lose my nerves. I saw in my lifetime situations that were by far more dangerous, particularly the early days. I want to tell you just one story about the early days. When I came into the headquarters of the Haganah, I found a copy of a letter that was written by one of our generals to Ben-Gurion, who was the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense. Ben-Gurion suggested to this particular general to be the Chief of Staff of our army. And he wrote Ben-Gurion, thank you for the trust, for the opportunity, but I checked the situation, and I found out that Israel has all told only 6 million cartridges of light arms. A day of war calls for spending 1 million cartridges a day. And he says, I don't want to be the head of the army for 6 days. That's what we have. Well, you see, don't count statistics too seriously. And today too, Israel is strong. We don't want wars. We don't threaten any other people. We were born to seek peace, not to seek victories. We won the wars, but the greatest victory will be peace, not just a military victory. We have peace with the Egyptians. We have peace with the Jordanians. Everybody says, well, look, the Palestinians are firing at your rockets. That's a poor example. But between us and Jordan, where we have the longest border, there is peace. We are cooperating. And for the last 3 years, even the Palestinians went down. So I believe that we can and we shall make peace. And I'm thinking about the future. Really, the Jewish community in Canada is a source of warmth, of encouragement. You don't know how deeply we feel about your engagement, your care, your participation, your readiness to respond to almost every need we have from time to time, and we have enough of them. And I'm thinking, what is the future? Half of our people today are on the American continent. You and the Jewish community in the United States and some communities in Latin America. Half are in Israel. It's a new map of Jewish life. And what shall we tell our children? What is the future? What is the order of the day in a new age? And I think we have to crystallize it. We cannot just hang on our memories. We have to offer a vision. And I think the Jewish vision today should be, whether in diaspora or whether in Israel, wherever Jewish people are, based on 3 pillars. Number one, the real special character of Judaism stems from the fact that of all attractions that exist before the humankind, our people preferred the moral preference, more than power, more than wealth, more than beauty. We paid a heavy cost for it. It didn't sound reasonable or mundane. But generation after generation, we didn't give up this principle. We didn't build maybe great pyramids or great cathedrals. We have a small piece of paper, which is 3,500 years old, the 10 Commandments. It contains only 172 words. And after 3,500 years, it remains actual. We don't have to change anything. It remains our guide. As a matter of fact, it became the basis of the Western civilization. To understand the friendship between Canada and America and Israel has to do very much with the roots of this document, with the vision of the prophets. We have to keep this document not just as a document, but as a real guide of our life. We weren't born to rule other people. We don't exist to threaten other people. Yet we don't want to hang upon the goodwill of other people. We want to be independent. But independent in order to participate in what we call tikkun olam, to have a better world and to have better people. That we have to tell our children, that Jewish life today must be as old as the 10 Commandments, yet as new as modern science. And that will be the second pillar. You know, the Jews really excelled themselves in the domain of science and knowledge. We didn't have anything else, so this became the DNA of our nation. I mean, to think that 25% of the Nobel Prize laureates are Jewish is disproportionate to any other country. And then I'm being asked, what is the greatest contribution of the Jewish people to the rest of the world? My answer is simple: dissatisfaction. A Jew cannot be satisfied. The minute he's becoming satisfied, I doubt his Jewishness. And the lack of satisfaction makes us a people in search, in research for new opportunities, for better qualities. That's our business. And I think this is the reason why Israel is so successful in the domain of research and development. This is the real foundation of the existence of the Jewish people, and we have to continue to do it. We are very far from achieving the top of the scientific achievements. I think today in the center will be the research of the brain, because we're in a strange position. Our brain can build artificial brains, but is incapable to understand its own brain. So we know everything around us, we don't know anything within ourselves. We are blind people who have many lamps, but none of them illuminate our own self. I think if it will do, people will become better. And the third point, we have to be the initiator of peace. Let me say a word about peace. You know, people say, why does it go so slowly after so many years? Peace is a very intricate business. The problem begins with your own people. Your own people say, yes, we want peace. We understand that peace carries a price. You have to make concessions. That's okay. But why are you giving away so much? Why do you trust the other party so much? You don't know how to negotiate. Now, how can you measure what is so much and what is so little? So this debate all the time holds back on both sides the peace process. And I can say with a smile that there are two things in life that you cannot attain unless you close a little bit your eyes, and that is love and peace. With open eyes, you cannot achieve either of the two. And I believe that in spite of the slowness of the process, there is also a progress in the development. Today, our relations with the Palestinians at least created a common base in Israel, left and right. We agree the solution should be based on a two-state solution, not on a binational state. It was the dividing line between left and right, no longer. And I think we have to continue and initiate peace. So to tell our children, who they are not first to listen to us, because they say, thank you for giving us birth, but please stop needing us with your experience and with your heritage. You weren't so great as you claim. What sort of a world did you leave to us? Wounded by wars, divided by discriminations and hatred. We want to have our own way. But this is a message not based on the past, but also facing the future, combining the old wisdom and the right choice of mode with a dynamic, changing age and world together with other people. So, my dear friends, I came to thank you, but to tell you that I don't suggest to take any vacation from the Jewish engagement, from the Jewish basic values, from the challenge of our time. But face it, we paid a heavy toll for the historic road we made. But we're existing. We have a land of our own. Our children are speaking the language of the prophets, the only country in the world. We have shown that what we have inherent in the way of understanding and hoping and being a positive nation is worthwhile to hand over to our children. This is what I would like to suggest to the Jewish people as the new agenda of our time. Thank you very much. In recognition of the Jewish community in Montreal, I brought you a shofar from Jerusalem to express our appreciation.
On behalf of the Montreal Jewish community, I accept this beautiful gift, which we will treasure. On behalf of the Montreal Jewish community, allow me to present you with this artwork, original artwork by Montreal artist Chaim Scherf.
I know the original. Thank you very much.
He has displayed his artworks in Israel, Germany, Greece, France, and the United States.
It's really beautiful. Thank you very much.
The inscription reads, "On the occasion of your visit to the Jewish community of Montreal, for a lifetime of outstanding Jewish leadership and achievement."
Thank you.